Tell me about divorce car loans. How do they differ from your everyday car loan?
Well, typically when somebody starts going through a divorce, one of the key items that many lawyers will end up telling their clients is to stop paying their bills. Because what essentially happens is as soon as you start paying your bills, you're essentially taking ownership of that debt. And a lot of people don't want to take the ownership of the debt until they let the courts decide who owns it during the divorce proceedings. So a lot of people come to us going through a divorce, but it actually completely destroys their credit because what you see is that they stop paying all their bills. So their reasoning behind it is completely logical and it makes sense as to why they can't pay it, and it's not necessarily due to a cash flow constraint, it's just due to their circumstance of the divorce. So when we have a client who approaches us for an automotive loan, we will actually ask them if it was divorced and we try to get the timeline. If they tell us when the divorce occurred, we'll essentially almost ignore everything from the divorce onwards, and we'll just look at how the client's credit was prior to the divorce. And that's one of the things that makes divorcees a little bit of a different case for us, because we do recognize the truth behind divorces where a lot of people do stop paying their debt, but it really has nothing to do with their affordability.
So bad credit as a result of a divorce per se does not necessarily mean that they cannot get a bank loan. A car loan.
That's correct. They won't be able to get a bank loan because unfortunately banks, they don't really look for different scenarios of where things may apply differently. But what we do differently is we look for the different scenarios. So if a client tells us that divorce, it makes sense that they're not going to be paying any of their debt going forward. What we do look for is their payment pattern pre the divorce. So if we can see that they were a prime client before the divorce, we essentially assume that their attitude is going to be the exact same going forward on their own debt. So that's why when somebody comes to us who is divorced, we can still give them a fair approval and not necessarily be the deepest subprime approval that they're typically used to getting in this situation.
So trends better than the bank car loans works for people going through divorces.
Absolutely, and they're great clients to have because we recognize that they need more help than some other people. So we can help them, and all we need to hear from them is just their story.